Hello, and welcome to Stories Across Borders. Here we discuss stories told across a wide range of different media, books, movies, comics, you name it. The only rule is that we can only discuss things in terms of the writing. Anything like acting, art, animation, etc., is off limits unless it relates directly to how the story is being told. I'm Daniel Radford, author, mutant, and also your host, and today I'm joined both by my usual co-conspirator, John Kernan, as well as recurring guest Marv.
Welcome.
Woo!
Hello. Excited to be here.
It's
I'm
okay.
excited to
We're all
finally have
mutants
both of you on
here.
the same episode.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially since both of you are much more knowledgeable about today's subject matter than I am. That subject matter, of course, being Marvel's X-Men franchise.
Oh man. I got some stuff to tell you about Nightcrawler.
Oh man, my name is definitely not short from an old username that may have had Marvel in it.
Oh no.
It was.
That- that's new information. Uh, yeah, Marv and I talked a little bit about maybe doing this back when we recorded our episode in the superhero cycle of episodes. And now the time is upon us at last. Full disclosure, though, as I've said, I'm not nearly as well acquainted with the X Men franchise as either of you two. I primarily know X Men from the movies and from dabbling a little bit with X Men the animated series and X Men Evolution when I was a child. So I plan to give the new, at least new at the time of recording this, X Men '97 animated series a shot at some point. I'll get to it, I promise. But I'm a bit of the X Men noob in this particular episode. You guys though know a little bit more about the subject matter. So how much what aspects of the franchise have you dabbled in before we really get into it?
A lot, but not as much as I want to, where I still feel like everyone's like, somebody tries to gatekeep me, I'll just be like, oh my god, but I know a lot. Like, I know a lot. Like, I dabble in like the comic arcs. I don't have like extensive knowledge, but I know like the basics of all the arcs and the things that were different from the movies, obviously. But I've watched basically all the TV adaptations, animations, except for the anime adaptations, because there were some anime adaptations. I did not see those.
I forgot
Um,
about those.
yeah, those were a time I remember they made Blade and Wolverine and the X-Men and stuff. Um,
Gambit would make a great anime character.
he sure was. I think
He
he
could j-
was.
he could just hang out and be the star of his own anime,
He
honestly.
could. He's fantastic.
Gambit is very anime.
He is so anime. And yeah, the movies, all but the last two of the Foxmen, as I like to call them, as somebody else that I follow on social media calls them. I think, because I didn't watch. No, I did watch Apocalypse and regretted it. I did not watch the Dark Phoenix because that was just abhorrent, and you can't do the Dark Phoenix unless you do the Phoenix Saga. So I was just like, I'm out. Um,
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about watching it after
Once was enough.
the Jean Grey stuff that already happened. So
yeah, I'm just like, nope.
I'm like,
Um,
oh, we're doing Dark Phoenix, even though we already butchered Jean Grey and kind of had her do the Dark Phoenix thing without the Phoenix.
Oh no, we're just gonna make it a separate part of herself instead of an actual cosmic entity from
and then
space.
and then do it anyways later.
Mm-hmm. Not once,
Um,
but twice.
oh, that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're kind of the middle ground between us, right, John? You've done a little bit of the comics and most of the like movies and things like that, but haven't gone quite as far down the rabbit hole as Marv, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sad to say pretty much all of my comic knowledge is just secondhand. I always think comics are cool, but there's nowhere around me to get any, and I haven't committed to like signing up for a service or anything where I can get a hold of them consistently.
Yeah, it's a lot at this point because, like, yeah, they've been out for I can't even tell you how long, and so it's like a lot of history and a lot there. So it's definitely, even I found it overwhelming. I'm like, where do I start if I were to pick up anything? And so it's just like you just pick an arc and kind of read it. But I did a lot of like video essay watching at one point and looking at, obviously, on Wikipedia and stuff. A lot of video essay watching about like a bunch of the arcs and stuff when the movies were like being re brought in and stuff. And Yeah, I love the
Seems like all
X-Men.
you can do is look for look for either one of the reboot chapters because all the biggest series have a couple of those here and there,
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
just pick a specific arc you're curious about and just start anyways.
Yep. That's what I would suggest. Yeah, because there is a lot, but it's fun and the characters are great, and yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a good mix of understanding and familiarity with the franchise here, ranging from me at novice to bit more of the middle ground with John, and then we have Marv, who at one point after we finished recording the superhero episode, spent like 20 minutes giving me a sermon on how cool Storm is. So
Oh, dude,
Yes!
Storm
Um,
is so cool.
Storm is the best. I
Storm is
love her.
amazing. Oh, Queen of Wakanda, let's go.
Yeah, Goddess of Kenya. Like, come on. Like, she's got all these titles, and she's fantastic. Omega level mutant. Like, just fantastic.
Everybody's like, "Oh man, she controls the weather. That's cool. She can do like lightning and stuff." And like, no, no, no. You've seen what storms do, yes, right? You know a hurricane? Yeah, that's a type of storm. That's weather.
Yeah,
Meteor storms. Those are kind of weather.
Like she can full on mess with the like ecosystems with weather patterns and such. Like, sure, she's like, oh, let me bring rain to this area that's got a drought, but it'll affect everywhere around that area and such, and probably be bad for those areas as well. So it's like, yeah, she can massively affect things. It's not just, oh, let me just create the weather, like some rain, but you got to give and take with stuff, and that's what she can do.
Yeah,
So
let's
cool.
not forget that if they didn't want her to sound sexy, they could just name her Cataclysm because she's capable of that. But Apocalypse
I'm
is
sure.
already standing over there. He's got a name like that. He would probably file a complaint. He's very petty.
So petty.
Yeah, I'm sure we can we'll get into a lot of the specific characters at some point a little bit later. I just had to drop that little tidbit about the Storm sermon.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's great. I think the only big series everybody knows about as far as superhero stuff goes that's more underappreciated than the X-Men is the Fantastic Four, probably because they never got to have a movie, really.
That is
I
actually.
mean, they've had several. They just all sucked. Next one
That's
might be good. Who knows?
they might as well have not happened. They have only damaged the possibility of the layman realizing that the Fantastic Four is super cool, even sometimes when Reed Richards is being a dick.
Like the first movie was okay. Like I enjoyed it when I saw it as a kid. It was fine. The Silver Surfer one was a little weird. I don't really remember that one, but the first one was fine.
And the Fantastic Four hangs out with everybody. They've hung out with everyone at
Everyone.
some point. Freaking, especially Spidey. I love their
Yeah.
crossovers.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but we're doing an X-Men episode.
We are doing
so-
Right.
X-Men.
X-Men. And you know what the X stands for? Action.
Yeah, I say this is in fact, technically speaking, I mean, not even just technically, it just is actually our third episode in our cycle on action in stories primarily.
Mm.
We'll certainly like deviate from that path because we tend to do that in every episode, but might as well try and start at least a little bit on track. And at this point in
yeah.
time, so far, what we've established really is that spectacle is exciting, but good action is the kind of action that comes with narrative significance. That's what leaves a lasting impression.
And that's a
And I
constant
think
in X-Men.
exactly that's why I thought X-Men would be an interesting choice to explore this that idea for this cycle, because it tends to be a lot more character focused than other superhero stories, and that means a lot of the conflict and the action inside the story is bolstered with some interesting allegories and philosophical questions and just character significance. That's not to say it doesn't also have its fair share of more hollow spectacle focused action, looking at you, Apocalypse, but by and large, more than a lot of more just how wild can we get sort of stories, at least in my experience.
You show
The
some Apocalypse some respect. Thanos was cool. Everybody liked Thanos. Why can't we do that?
They just got to get the right people to do it right.
Yeah, I was like, to be fair, I'm talking about the movie. I don't know. Maybe he's more interesting
No,
in the
I
comics,
am
but
totally making fun of the movie. I'm saying
Oh,
they
yeah.
just wish they could do Thanos. Like,
yeah.
we need the big, strong guy who's gonna beat everybody up.
Maybe you should have given him some build up then, like they did with Thanos. Anyway. Yeah, so obviously the sort of core thing, as far as in my experience with most of the X-Men, is that a lot of it is built around not just the physical confrontations, but the philosophical confrontations between the X-Men and the Brotherhood. And that raises a lot of interesting ideas where it's not just a clash of different factions, it is a clash of ideals, this idea of integration versus, you know what, actually fuck these
Superiority.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean,
Equality
it's
or superiority? What should mutants have?
yeah, both different
Quality.
answers. both
'Cause,
both
like,
different answers to the idea of to the oppression they have
the
experienced.
Brotherhood thinks segregation is great, actually. They just kind of want to flip the dynamic of the segregation. That's all.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the normies.
Yeah.
The
Gross.
Brotherhood would get along great with 4chan. Lock all the normies in a closet.
Magneto, like, sitting at a desk on 4chan is very funny.
Dude, honestly, I bet 4chan is like one of the. I wouldn't be surprised if 4chan was one of the reasons Magneto started having his turn and started seeing the light and chilling out. He probably went on that board one day. It was like, oh man,
We've
yeah,
gone
I
too
bet
far.
there's gonna be a bunch of people just like me. And he surfed the boards for like an hour and went, oh, what have I become?
Magneto sitting there going, genocide's okay, 4chan is too much.
It's too. This is too much. I liked it. I liked it better when I was just killing the dudes trying to shoot me with plastic guns.
That's one of the reasons that I really like, as far as superhero content, especially the more mainstream superhero content goes, the reason I really like the X-Men is because it tends to not be as spectacle driven and tends to be a lot more character centric. So when you get a situation which is like Wolverine versus Sabretooth happens in as like a rivalry in the movies, you know, that carries narrative weight to it because these characters, it's only implied at first even, but you get the vibe that they've got history and then learn, yeah, they sure do later on.
There sure is a lot of history there, including some actual literal history.
Because they just don't die.
They're old as fuck.
Yeah.
Or you've got situations like just the entire conflict between the Brotherhood and the X-Men is based on this whole philosophical thing, and that to me makes the fights more interesting because it matters who wins.
Yeah, and the mutant power is one of the things that makes them super important too, and means they'll always be integral to the story. Is like the action comes from the mutant powers. The mutant powers are the main part of the story. Is it because the main characters are mutants? Kind of, but the real thing is it's their powers are also most of their powers are also in some way a disability, and even for all of them, even the ones where it doesn't have a disability style downside, it is what makes them a minority. Because like there's a lot of simple haha racism bad jokes we could make, but like at the end of the day, the main narrative crux of like X-Men usually is that they are a mistreated and segregated minority.
For just existing.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, do the comics, are they still going like deep into that as the like central dynamic of things with the X-Men, or have
Not
they sort of
always.
moved away from that? Because I feel like that
No.
would be. I feel like that's still very topical.
It's
It is.
well, I feel like it forever will be topical because people just don't know how to grow and become better. I don't know exactly, but it's always like that whole like them forever having that struggle of being accepted in society and blah blah blah. It's always been like very weird to me, especially when they live in the same universe as like the Avengers
Yeah.
or like we said, like the Fantastic Four or Spider-Man
Yeah,
and
the
all these.
X-Men
It's just
make a
it's
lot more
very
sense
weird.
when they're
But
not
like,
part of a shared universe.
yeah, but so it's very weird. But I think it's a. I kind of maybe understand it a little bit more, can rationalize it a bit, because like this morning I was looking around and stuff, and so like apparently originally, like when the X-Men were made, um, Stanley was just a little too lazy to come up with origin stories for where everyone got their powers, so they just said they were mutations, genetic mutations and whatnot, and that's how they got their powers and stuff. And so from there, it obviously evolved because like originally there was no like there are going to be representations of this and have these very in-depth backgrounds of what they're doing. They were just generic. Hey, group of heroes. Here's a generic villain. There you go.
Here's your theme, here's your power set,
Yeah,
go do great things.
yeah. You just were born this way. Um, like Lady
Excelsior.
Gaga would say. And so then it kind of makes a little sense there because like if you think about it, like okay, so yeah, you got these people with other Avengers and stuff. They kind of got like origin stories for how they got their powers. It wasn't just like a random genetic mutation, but for the X-Men, it was a random genetic mutation. And so that's kind of scary if people are just naturally doing this, so and just evolving and this stuff happening, and so that it could like like the people are be afraid of like yeah, this is the next step in evolution probably, and that's a little scary because then they're the new types of people. It just naturally happened. It wasn't an accident like a lot of these other people, so they're a little less weirded out by the okay, this happened to them, and instead of just like oh, they can just be anywhere and pop up without reason because it's just coming out of a genetic thing, maybe, but I forgot
Yeah.
what my point
I mean,
was.
That is the main thing that allows the prejudice against mutants to work, because I mean, plenty of other superheroes have struggles for what they go through too, and sometimes they are judged for their powers. But at the end of the day, the big thing with most of those heroes is they either have a big support group around them that they had time to build up before they were heroes,
Yeah.
or they have a secret identity and didn't
Mm.
grow up having to live with their abilities, whereas the mutants don't get that chance for the most part, because at some point someday their powers just show up, usually
Yeah.
while they're in public being a normal person.
And it's yeah, usually in a moment of like distress or and panic and stuff when it happens. And so then
And that's why it's Xavier's school for gifted children at
yeah.
first, because it's most of them have to go through that revelation when they are kids. They have mutant puberty.
Yeah. Just like and like usually when like the first time powers show up, they're very like uh stronger and uncontrolled, similar like with baby rattlesnakes. Like they don't know how to use their venom, so they use too much and all that fun stuff. So it's similar to that with
Yeah, what happened to your
um
school, Cyclops? How was that? Was that fun?
yeah, Cyclops was that.
I bet that
I
was
mean,
cool. Everybody likes lasers.
What
that's one of
lasers?
the like that's some of the things that make the X-Men so interesting. Like one of the things that people like the government looks at the X-Men and they get concerned about them like training to use their powers. It's like, would you rather the alternative?
Yeah, where they're untamed,
where
uncontrolled.
where it's completely uncontrolled and random and
Yeah.
explosive. Like
Yeah.
you're looking at this and you're looking at like and you're going, we're training soldiers, and it's like, yeah, okay, some of them seem to have a lot more combat training than is necessary, but the gist is that they're learning to control their abilities, not
Yeah.
necessarily weaponize them. Like there's loads of mutants at that school, but most of them are not X-Men.
No,
Oh, yeah.
most of them are just students
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
They just
and
X-Men
want
are
to live
something
normal
orphans.
lives.
more specific. But I do agree with what you said. That I think I do I've said before. I feel like the X Men as a concept do work a lot more better in isolation from the rest of Marvel's content, because it is like you can definitely rationalize it like you guys did, but it still feels a little eh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to be like, oh, this guy with wings, fuck that guy because he's got wings, and then be like, yeah, but Spider Man's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. Speaking of Spider-Man, I think that's why a lot of the times, when on the rare occasions when the X-Men like do crossover directly with like other characters, it's usually characters who either directly mirror their struggles in some way, or like are the direct opposite of them. Because you could always You could have an interesting interaction between them and Iron Man, because he could be like, "Man, you guys shouldn't be so hateful. You should blah blah blah," and they could be like, "Okay, yeah, that's cool. Rich dude whose superpower is just his brain and gets to be a regular person." Or come in
Mhm.
with Spider-Man and have they be like, "Well, I'm not a mutant, but yeah, having powers sure does suck sometimes, doesn't it?"
Yeah, well, he kind of had that. I don't remember it, but I remember being reminded of the episode. I'm not sure if it was in the X-Men or if it was in the Spider-Man show, but they did have a crossover. I remember Spider-Man leaving them angry because they didn't fully understand what he was trying to talk about. I think it was from the Spider-Man TV show, but they crossed over with him, and yeah, they were like, "Oh, you could join our school and blah 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 and this stuff," but yeah, it was
And he's just like, "Well, I'm not really a mutant, and I've got responsibilities to take care of." And be like, responsibility? What, we haven't been through enough?" And he's like, "Listen, guys, I
yeah,
get it, but I've got stuff going on, okay?"
yeah.
There's this weird green guy causing havoc everywhere that no one else seems to want to do anything about.
Yeah. Oh, he's my villain. He's tagged to me. I must handle him.
Yeah.
It's sitting there going, like, look, I know you've got your whole mutant thing, but also I need to babysit the Punisher in a minute. Make sure he
Listen,
doesn't kill anyone he's not supposed to.
guys, I've got 5 villains to stop by the end of the week, and I don't even have my rent ready yet. I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills this month, okay?
Yeah, instead of having me live here at the school, just pay my rent.
You wanna just, sponsor me? You could sponsor me. I would let Mr. Nice Bald Man in the chair. You seem like you have money.
Yeah, that's the word. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, sponsor me.
Just change his name to Sponsor Man.
Where's Wolverine, by the way? I mainly came to visit him. What do you mean he doesn't want to see me? I thought we got along great.
Uh,
He doesn't want to see anybody.
God, I love Spider-Man and Wolverine hanging out so much.
but Wolverine's got a soft spot for the kids, though. He's always
I
had a soft
know, but he also hates
Oh,
he also hates Peter because he won't shut up.
really? Oh no.
He doesn't actually hate him, but I love the constant air of like, "Oh boy, aren't we having fun? This is great. Let's go do more stuff." And just ugh.
No.
It's
Oh, Wolverine.
But, you know, looking back on it, right, it's interesting because I'm thinking on it now, like, everything we've just been able to touch upon is what makes the X-Men kind of great. And it all comes back to this idea of it being much more about the X-Men as people, as characters, than as vehicles for action. And I think that's what kind of why some of the later movies kind of fell flat is compared to some of the other ones.
they
Is
become superhero
because
movies.
yeah, they became a lot more like generic superhero movies compared to like the first X-Men movie, which deals a lot with like it's got action scenes, obviously, but it deals a lot with the idea of the character arcs of Wolverine and Rogue, specifically the movie version of Rogue, anyway.
Yeah.
Because they kind of mashed a lot of Jubilee's character into her, but
Yeah,
Poor
you,
Rogue.
you always got to have the green kid just, being introduced. You got to have that introduction character to the world so that way we can be introduced to it along with them. And yeah, Rogue definitely filled that.
Nightcrawler needs more play.
Nightcrawler was so
also, yeah, Nightcrawler's like confidence growing arc, and Jean's whole accepting her power arc, and Scott existing, and the continuous undercurrent of retaliation versus integration with the two sides of the coin with Professor X and Magneto and all that. They had a bit of a slip up in they slipped up a bit with the third one where they lost a lot of the character, like they
Flipped up a
not
bit.
because they weren't trying. They had the themes and
A
everything,
bit?
but they were trying to do too much
They did not slip up
at
a bit.
once.
They fumbled the whole damn thing. It was so
Yes,
bad.
it
Are
wasn't
you
a good
kidding?
movie.
It was so bad. But I
It
love
was a
that they
horrendous movie.
retconned it. I love that they retconned it, but then they continued to do shit afterwards. Like, you fixed the problem, but then you made it bad again. Like, what? Ah,
Also, where are Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver? Don't worry about it. It's fine. They've got stuff.
yeah, got stuff.
They're in another universe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It's kids? What kids?
I mean,
Magneto?
we got
You see how old he is? You think he has
twins?
kids?
Nah, twins never.
we did get Quicksilver later on, but
But yeah, that's what I was talking
um,
about. I was jumping around with what I was talking about, but yeah.
that's so like some of the like other movies that came after Dark Phoenix was no, not Dark Phoenix: The Last Stand. Dark Phoenix was the other bad attempt at Phoenix. Some of the other ones, they weren't that bad either. Like
Oh,
I
First
I
Class was
actually quite
fantastic.
liked. Yeah, I really liked First Class, but again, it was dealing a lot more with the character
Yeah,
arcs
for
than it
sure.
was action, action,
That's
action,
always when
action.
X-Men is at its best for the most part. It's ultimately like it's a very down to earth and personal story in its most important moments. It just so happens that the personal part is a lot of different persons,
Yeah.
which is fine because very few stories that are like that can reliably jump around to different characters, and X-Men, luckily, that is such a core part of the premise that it handles that usually much better than most other stories you would see, and does it much more frequently
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because X-Men technically doesn't have a main character. I mean, if
Technically.
you if
technically.
different parts of the story always do more or less have one, and yes, there is
Yeah.
a disproportionate amount of screen time for Wolverine and Mr. Scott Summers.
Well, in the original, like to the original three for sure. Like Hollywood likes to do this because, like, I think it's Hollywood also. Once things get good, they step in, and then things get horrible. Because yeah, I feel like when they started, well, like for sure with the original trilogy, and then the two old Wolverine movies, like you didn't need this many Wolverine movies. It became the Hugh Jackman like show for sure. And then with the next set of movies, it was going good, but then it became the Jennifer Lawrence show because she was a big name actress and put her in the center of all these arcs that Mystique is not really supposed to be, and then that kind of also just went to, you know,
To
in my opinion.
to be fair, Wolverine, just the movie Wolverine, wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't great, but I think it actually it had some good moments. But I think it also represents a very very kind of a lot of what we're talking about, where where the more the focus shifts to being action all the time, the more they were losing the things that made the first two movies so good. Because like it's supposed to be largely about uh, Logan dealing with the grief of what happened at the end of The Last Stand, but it feels like he doesn't get enough time to actually sit there and process the grief because he's constantly on the move.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, what we
Yeah.
get is action, 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 weird dream sequence, action, 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 and eventually it's fun, but it loses a lot of the feeling.
If
I basically forget it. I just remember him starting to get into this other lady, and I'm just like, Jean just died, my guy. Like you're rebounding so
Yeah,
hard right now. This is not fair to her, and that's all I remember. And then there was like another girl with red hair that was like his sidekick,
I
and
love I love Logan despite its flaws. It's
I haven't
Logan.
actually seen that one.
Logan was
I really need to see that one.
no. That's why I said the Wolverine movies because this
yeah.
movie was not a Wolverine movie. It was a Logan movie, and it was fantastic. I was crying half the time. I cried 20 minutes after the movie ended. It was so fantastic. I loved it. It was so good.
The
Redemption
only
for
thing that
everything.
irks me a little bit about Logan is how much bigger the age gap between him and X-23 is than it used to be. But at the same time, well, age gap, I say, not like he wasn't way older than everyone else, anyways. But like, uh, it also works because, like, I don't know, the best thing about them is their subtle, like, father-daughter undercurrent that takes forever to go anywhere in the older stories because
Hmm.
they're too busy using X-23 as an edgy side character who can't make up her mind about where her loyalties lie, which is good, but it goes on for a long time if I
Hmm.
remember right in the comics before she goes anywhere.
I really want to read the like X-23 origin like graphic novel thing.
We love
I don't remember
X-23.
what it's called, but the one that like focuses specifically on like her upbringing, that and all the shit Stryker was doing with that program, and how
Oh,
she kind
Stryker.
of just ended it.
Yeah, Weapon
I-
X sure was horny for Wolverine. Could not let it go.
I mean, he is something special, to be fair. But borderline immortal, healing factor. The healing factor is also one of the few things that made it possible to do the whole metal skeleton thing. So I can see why they were obsessed with the one that got away.
I do love that about him too, because healing factor is, I mean, it's such a common thing with superheroes that they have the term healing factor. But I really appreciate Wolverine because he's like he's one of the only examples we ever get to see of having it on a good guy, because hardcore regeneration is usually something saved for villains to make them super hard to kill and oh no, they won't die.
Mm-hmm.
You rarely get to explore it from inside a character and their story. And on top of that, since his regeneration is natural and not like magical or true immortality or something like that, you get to experience the downsides of that. Like, oh yeah, no, when I heal, I can feel my bones and muscles knitting back together. It's not fun. Also, my brain is a ship of Theseus. I don't remember how old I am. You know why? Because all those brain cells have died 20 different times.
Yeah, and yeah, every time I use my claws, it just re-tears my skin open. It's great. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
immune to pain. I'm just immune to. Yeah.
my claw's coming out. That sure does look cool, doesn't it? Did you know that my knuckles have to get pushed aside so that those can rip through?
Uh, Speaking of Wolverine sometimes getting shot in the face and being pretty much immortal, for something kind of on topic, I have to say, in defense of the Wolverine movies, and weirdly, I can't believe I'm saying this sentence, in defense of Origins,
Oh
Oh
no.
my god.
it does actually have one of the best action sequences in the entire franchise, as far as the movies are concerned. The
The action's
opening,
pretty
like
good until the end.
I
that,
can't remember it.
like that, it has this like not the opening, but this just after the opening, this like 10-minute sequence, which is
The
just a
mercenary bit.
consistent action. It's just not even that. It's just a consistent action sequence following Wolverine and Sabretooth going through parts of history
Oh,
through
okay,
the
that.
lens of all the wars they've been in.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
that's
cool.
And
that's super cool.
it's simultaneously a really engaging and exciting set piece as far as an action sequence goes, and it also goes a huge way to building their history. That 10 minutes of consistent action does more history building for those two characters than all of the dialogue in all of the rest of the movies. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really cool way to use an action sequence.
For sure.
Oh yeah, and Wolverine always makes a great character to follow for action in general, not just because obviously he's super active because he's a psychotic little short man, exactly where he gets his name from. You thought it's the claws? No, it's because he's angry and short.
He's too
But
tall in the movies. He's too
that's
tall in the
true.
movies. We want our short king back.
Hugh Jackman's too tall. Digitally shrink him.
Yes,
Figure it
please.
out. But
The reverse Tom Cruise. I mean, what?
no, exactly. Maybe Tom Cruise should have been Wolverine. He's
No,
short.
no, no,
Just
no,
kidding, I'm just
no.
That
But
Can you imagine? Like,
No, I don't
he
want
nailed
to.
the action and the stunts, but could you imagine?
I couldn't take him seriously.
He couldn't do the grit.
But yeah,
No.
Wolverine always makes a great subject for action, not just because he is active and he does fight a lot, but the way he fights is much more active than a lot of characters because he can't blast shit with lasers like Scott. He can't. To be fair, the ice powers are super cool and used in a dynamic, interesting way, but also like he can't freeze somebody, he can't throw them around. He's got claws and he has the ability to get the shit beat out of him and keep going.
Yeah, he's
And
got like nothing to fear because he's just like, cool, you're gonna blast a part of me off. Cool, that'll just give me like a minute. I'll be fine. I'll just keep
He'll be
going.
back tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got like
you
nothing to
better hope
lose
there's
really.
nothing left of me. If there is even one cell left, I will come back stronger than ever and achieve true perfection. Wait, Sorry, I'm getting mixed up a little. But
But yeah,
Wolverine
I mean,
fighting is great, even if he's not filled with the cells of the greatest fighters in the world.
unfortunately, after we get to the point there though where the movies do start losing a lot of the soul. I think after First Class happens, we get into
Well, Days of Futures Past.
Apocalypse
Well, no,
and
Days of
Days
Futures
Future
Past. You
Past.
forgot. Days of Futures Past was still great.
Yeah.
That was still a great movie. My only gripe, again, because everything's the Wolverine show. They make Wolverine go through time to do the crap, but it's supposed to be Kitty Pryde in the original, and I'm just like, give
Oh.
my girl her flowers. Like,
I have
come
some
on.
pride in
Isn't-
Kitty. She doesn't
isn't
get
she-
enough.
Yeah, I was like, isn't Kitty? But she's leading the X-Men for a long time in the comics, right?
Maybe later
Kitty
on,
is
I think
great,
her and
so-
Colossus later on, maybe, but like in the movies, though, they do her so
Oh
dirty.
yeah, no, in the movies,
They
She
Nuke
gets almost
her.
nothing in the movies.
Yeah, she's just there to be a for the love triangle that didn't need to be, and I'm just like, come on.
It's
Give her
honestly
more.
one of the constant downsides with movies for franchises like this is they, even when they don't flanderize characters, they always, in a way at least, flanderize the series they're about, because
Mhm.
the movies become the thing people care about. Like, you talk to anybody who's only seen the X-Men movies and be like, Kitty Pryde, and they'll just be like, oh, is that the one who, like, goes through walls only for me and Marv over here to slam our hands on the table? But you won't understand. She's so much better than that.
She is so much better. She gets a dragon later, and then at one point she has like claws like Wolverine, and also she can like go through time and stuff. Like, come on,
Fucking
man!
love Kitty Pryde.
Oh, Kitty Pryde is the best.
Yeah, that time she bodied Juggernaut was cool.
Yeah,
I mean, at least they
course.
did that right.
like,
That
no,
was sick.
Kitty is so cool because like she can like phase things with her. I think it was a giant missile or something that was coming for Earth, and she went up, phased the entire missile through Earth, and had to stick with it because she couldn't detach herself from it. So she was floating in space for like years. She is a badass.
They should have
I-
sent
I-
Nightcrawler with her.
I like Kitty.
Kitty's
Yeah.
great. Perspective
Nightcrawler, who
lane.
at one point teleported himself back to life.
Oh,
What?
dude,
Comics,
you don't
comics are wild.
Oh, dude, you don't understand. We're at a point. This is action relevant, so I can talk about it now. Anyways, like if we're talking action, Nightcrawler becomes one of my favorite characters, not just for what he can do with his powers, but how they actually work. Like the setup for it is so good. Like, yeah, he gets Nightcrawler because that's what he looks like. He looks like a Nightcrawler. Nobody ever minds the fact that he understands the persecution and judgment side of being a mutant better than most people, because you can see that he's a mutant at a glance, but like his power, he's not just teleporting. He is essentially traveling through a fucking hell dimension made of pure sulfur, where time doesn't really flow like it does here, so that he can walk to its. He's using nether portals in Minecraft to teleport. Really, at the end of the day,
Wait,
And-
you've told me
and-
about this before. Isn't there like a guy in that dimension who just
Yes,
specifically wants him dead?
one of the
Mephistopheles?
arcs has a villain who like is so unstoppable and everybody so very much can't handle him that Nightcrawler teleports with him, but just leaves him in his little brimstone dimension that he travels through and leaves him trapped there. And essentially from then on, although I'm sure the story drops it eventually because it's not really important, that guy's just there, and every time he teleports, he has to make sure that asshole does not catch him while he's going from one place to another, because he's still there and he's still alive, and he's really, really pissed off about it.
So funny.
So,
Like,
love
all
how
right,
creative
you get to go to baby jail now, Mr. Villain. You get to stay in my baby jail forever. Like, all right, but you have to come back to baby jail to teleport.
I love how creative they can get with stuff like that. That is so cool.
It's
Yeah.
great. And he makes for great action too, because like they don't just make this stuff nothing. The reason he's got the sparks and the smell and the smoke when he teleports is because of that dimension. He's bringing a little bit of it back with him, and it is
Mm.
essentially sulfur hell.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean his introduction at the beginning of of X2,
That's
to be
really
fair,
good.
that might even be better than the Wolverine Origins thing with Sabretooth. The way they make him terrifying, and that's good for some of them because it's exciting to watch. But it's the first time that you get to see the mutants from the other side.
Yeah, because it really also establishes how dangerous certain
Yeah,
mutants can be if they want to be,
like
and that
he's
so
not
that
even one
also
of. Oh, sorry.
no, because like I think he was being controlled by Stryker and stuff. So yeah, like it's to
Yeah,
push that narrative of like, yeah, they are evil. We need to make the people want to put them away and to register them. So that way, so it's like the layer of establishing how cool the character is, how bad things could get if the wrong mutants are in charge, and also the story for the whole movie.
that's what it's so cool. Like, not only is it just stunning to watch, but because they make him feel like a horror movie monster, the tension is ratcheted up so high as you're watching him just blitz through the White House. And he's not even one of the like really crazy powerful mutants. This is the first time that you get to see what the mutants look like to a lot of ordinary people. And suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, no, I can understand why they're all afraid. And obviously, Stryker is manipulating this situation to push that narrative for his own ends, which is also just a really cool thing that they've done.
His publicist must have been really pissed off about Beast. Oh, they have a big scary monster man named Beast? That's awesome. Okay, get me a meaning. What do you mean he wears glasses? What? No, I'm not gonna go have tea with him. Why is he
Yeah.
inviting me to tea?
He listens to Mozart, quotes Shakespeare. It's a intelligent man.
What do you mean Beast is the classiest gentleman in the entire
He's a
planet?
well-intelligent man. Yeah, I
I
heard
hate
that.
this
cool.
job.
I mean, to be fair, that they had enough. There's a lot of blue mutants running around. They were gonna
So
he was
many.
gonna get one that could be scary eventually. And I mean, Nightcrawler was so cool that they basically painted him red and stole all of his same abilities and effects for Azazel in first class. So
That's true. Like they
what's the
they
link?
they don't
Like,
they don't want to
there's got to
talk
be a
about the
link
fact that
between
his
them.
mom's right over there either.
Azazel's his dad. Isn't Azazel his dad?
Maybe? I don't
I think
remember.
they made it his father.
It would make sense.
Like,
The
'Cause there's no
important thing is
relation at
that
all
we've
in
got
first
his
class.
mom around. She's hanging out.
Oh yeah, that's why he's blue, huh?
Mystique is another character who, like, despite getting a lot of play in the movies, is still in a way underutilized because for most of the movies, she's too busy being a villain or an underling or just staying out of it because she's tired of all this shit. But boy howdy, do they get a lot going out of a character being a shapeshifter. Mystique has a lot going on. There's always, I mean, Mystique is the perfect name for her because, like, you don't think of her as being that mysterious because you know who she is, but that's the exact element that a shapeshifter ultimately brings more than anything to their story is Mystique. Because hey, is Mystique on screen right now? Are you sure? She could be.
do her eyes accidentally flicker yellow when you hit her? Could be.
She could be on screen at any given moment. You don't fucking know.
Exactly.
I would love I would love to see like a Mystique centered movie where they not to go all Nightcrawler and things, but where they basically portray her like the Thing, not the Thing as in
John
Rockman,
Carpenter's
the
The
Thing
Thing.
as in John Carpenter's The Thing.
I was gonna
Yes.
say that's what I thought you were going with that. Yeah,
But she could still say it's Clubber in time. That'd be neat.
that would be.
Be a very strange way to reference the movie.
We need a storm movie. That's what we need. We need a full centered storm movie.
That's what they should have
She
done
needs some
after
more
T'Challa
respect.
died.
They would need to put more respect on her name in the movies. Like I know she's still powerful, she's still cool, but the Apocalypse movie made me sick and upset.
That should be the explanation for how Little Sister can become the new Black Panther. Just bring Mystique in and let her become queen. It's fine.
Bring Mystique in. What?
Sorry, I'm
Bring Storm in?
listen. I'm dyslexic.
That's okay. It's all right.
I'm just gonna use that as
No,
my
hold up.
excuse
You
for when
can't.
my
You
brain
can't pull that
switches
card
things
on this
around.
one.
For-
I don't think so.
Hey, listen.
I'd let you get
Dyslex-
away with some shit in these episodes.
Listen. I don't know if it's actually tied to dyslexia, but it is what I think about because my brain likes to switch things around more than numbers. When I'm thinking about two different things at once, sometimes they just switch places.
No, I feel that.
But no, sorry. Just bring Storm in. Just give us our Storm story. Have her take
Don't
the
worry.
throne of Wakanda. And
M'Baku's already got it. He's got it. Don't you worry. He's on it. New king right there.
Oh man, yeah. Just let's do it.
Yeah. But no, so
But,
they need to get more time to Storm and do her right because, yeah.
It's actually like it is kind of funny, right? Like she gets a couple of set pieces, generally speaking, in every movie she's in, but they don't delve that much into her character. And from
No,
my
they
understanding, she
don't.
does have a very deep lore. But also, just on top of that, they don't even get their mileage out of her for the spectacle, given what she's capable of.
Yeah. It could be also, limitations on like VFX and stuff at the time, maybe that could be a factor. But yeah, they don't do all that much with it because she can do so much cool stuff.
well, you can't have somebody around who's a threat to Jean Grey being the greatest powerhouse.
Wow.
Everybody has to be too busy being impressed by Psychic Girl over here and her
No,
definitely
both-
not Phoenix abilities.
Or, they could just have two powerful women take center stage and empower each other. and lift each
Powerful
other up.
women.
Hell
Okay,
yes.
now you're getting crazy. Powerful women. We're
Hell
talking
yeah.
about a story about minorities. This isn't a time for women to be powerful.
We just ended Black History Month and Women's History Month. Put some respect.
No, that's exactly
No,
it.
you say
They've
it's ended. We don't have to anymore.
They've had their time. It's fine. Oh god.
Every
I'm gonna
day is
throw up.
Black and Women History Month. History
I
Month.
can't. I have to stop.
Well, we're gonna cancel the.
Cancel the podcast. It's over.
And you shouldn't have brought me on
It was fun
then.
whilst it was lasting.
Yeah, you shouldn't have brought me on. I am both half Black and a woman, so fight me.
Oh my god, you're
So-
only half woman? I'm so
I-
sorry. What happened to the other half?
I know. I'm sadly half man. It is so sad.
Oh man. Bummer.
So sad.
I've been
Well,
called
I mean,
a half
look,
man
look at the
before. I
bright
get
side.
it.
Half of you gets the privilege.
I get half privilege. Here's my half privilege card. Thank you.
I can get half of a Sunday at Baskin Robbins this week. Great. Thank you.
I had no idea. I didn't know exactly where this particular topic was going to go because I feel like it's difficult to get into specifically focusing only on the action over and over for a cycle. I wasn't expecting it to end in casual sexism.
Just slightly, but
Casual
and we still have a little
sexism,
bit of
sir.
time
This
left.
is very
We don't know.
serious, targeted sexism. Thank you.
But I
You're
will
right. You're
say-
right, Mavis.
I will say for I will not go into details because they haven't watched X-Men 97 yet. I will say the action in the new show so far is pretty creative in comparison to the original show. It is pretty freaking cool and creative. I will say that much.
That's
That is
awesome.
good. With the sheer wealth of abilities like the cast of mutants has, like you would expect the action to be.
Yeah, because
Pretty
like they've fought so many battles together. They're doing combo things. They're getting creative individually. Because like it takes place like basically almost right after the original series ended, and so like Jubilee's kind of like, yeah, I'm slightly older, but I'm still getting into what I can do with my powers here, and so they give her an episode where she kind of does a little bit more creative things with it, and I'm like, great, you need to do more, Jubilee, like a little bit, please do it. And she does some pretty cool stuff, and same with the others, like
Do any of the fights just look like they came out of Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
I've never played it, so I cannot tell you.
There are multiple X-Men in that game, and that game is super fast and frantic and has like freaking multiple characters on each side and
Not
combos. Cool.
frantic. I wouldn't say it was frantic, no, but they, they do the characters well with the stuff Storm, Storm. Oh, my queen. Like in the original
Literally.
show, they never I don't think when the original show was airing that they had the whole like Omega level mutants thing. I don't think they like had the levels happen yet, but
Yeah,
something
it
happens and
always
they're like,
kind of felt like they were keeping everybody about the same, except
yeah.
Wolverine got to be a slightly better fighter than everyone else because he's old and he has to be like, you kids.
Yeah, but like in this show, they acknowledge it, and it's so like chef's kiss beautiful because like you don't see her for a while, and then all of a sudden it's like Omega mutant threat, and then here she comes in. I'm just like, yes, it's so good. Ah,
You remember Storm, the one who controls the weather?
and she
Oh,
does.
right, she's a thing. Uh-oh.
She does. It is so good.
What's the big deal about weather? Is she going to make it a rain? Well, you see, weather has the potential to destroy the planet.
Like natural disasters are called natural disasters for a reason, and she can do it. She can do
Consider
it.
this, though. She can also electrocute a frog.
Oh.
She could electrocute a frog.
But she wouldn't.
Where do we sit on in our thoughts on what happens when a toad gets struck by lightning?
I don't remember the punchline, but I know it falls flat.
I don't like seeing frogs and toads get hurt.
The punchline is just the same thing that happens to everything else.
Oh, that's what the punchline is. Halle Berry worked with what she had. Halle worked with what she had.
I feel like I'm the only person on this planet who actually likes that line.
It's pretty all right, but I'm just like, she worked with what she had. Like, she had so few lines. She was just like, I'm the cool looking, white flowing haired black woman on the side, and I'm just gonna observe and chime in with some wisdom every once in a while. And that's basically
just
what
Halle
she was.
Berry.
Just being majestic as always, Halle.
It was just Halle Berry with white hair and storm powers.
Yeah, being majestic and awesome.
Speaking of the movie, so I've got there. There's something I've been trying to like refresh my brain at, like, because we keep going on a tangent, but I've done it. The thing I wanted to look at was, I feel like the choreography and the effects and stuff for the action sequences obviously gets better as the movies go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it seems like that's at the expense of that character focus. It's almost like as the more they've had the capability to do the crazy action stuff they want to do and make set pieces out of the action, the more they've focused on that instead of at the core what makes the X-Men as a franchise so good to begin with.
Yeah.
You almost get the vibe the action was all they ever actually wanted, but the tech wasn't there, so they had to supplement it with good writing and character involvement.
Right. Yeah. But you can't have both. You definitely can't have both. You have to have one or the other. Why would we ever want to have both?
Well, what, you want us to keep putting money and time into this shit? How much money are we going to
Pay your
get out of it?
writers. Pay your writers well, please.
What? Excuse me. We are paying them definitely the bare minimum of what the Screen Actors Guild of America demands. We pay them, and definitely not claiming that either any of the actors are understudies or temps or anything. There's no.
Or
they're
we're
all
changing titles so that way we don't have to pay them certain things. Yeah.
See, look at them. They're in the credits. They're in the credits. They mattered. We treated them great. They got credits.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, I'm concerned about the X-Men now being able to be introduced into the MCU.
I was excited at first, but I am also slightly concerned.
Like, I feel like the MCU has lost a lot of its identity since the Infinity Saga concluded anyway. So now the idea of them introducing the X-Men via the multiversal stuff is already a bit like,
it's all just money grab at this point. Like, I just with the quality of the stuff that they've been putting out, I guess save for Loki season 2, I haven't watched it yet, but like a lot of the other stuff was just like, quantity over quality and stuff. So like I don't really have too
Yeah.
much like hope in and when they finally do it. I don't really care all that much anymore, but
They're all
Haven't
they're
seen season
already
2 of
again.
Loki
It's
either.
already weird having them share a universe like a universe with the other heroes just by virtue of what is at the core of their story as a
yeah,
general rule.
it's
They're
definitely
gonna
gonna be weird
fucking
for them to
So
introduce it, yeah.
they're gonna run
I feel
into
like we're
Vision, and
gonna
he's gonna
start.
be like, I feel like you would like my wife. And then and
Oh
they're
yeah,
gonna meet
that's weird as well.
Who
That
said
they just
that?
can't acknowledge that.
Wait, who said that?
Vision.
Oh.
This is
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
and they're gonna meet and
Yeah.
we're gonna get old man Logan squinting
But even
really hard at
but even her, she's not even technically a mutant because she got it from being experimented on.
exactly. That's what
Like, what the
they're
heck?
gonna look at her real hard and be like, huh, do I know you?
Yeah.
You look familiar.
Yeah, it's like so like
Were you on
so that's why
TV?
I
You
thought
were
it
on
was
that TV
like
that old sitcom I watched, weren't you?
but like even WandaVision kind of psyched us out with it because like there's so many ways they could have brought in the X-Men that I feel like they could have done, but they like obviously they didn't. They just psyched us out because like with WandaVision, they brought in the guy who played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies. And as an alternate, it's like, oh hey, here's your brother, and then she's all like, that's not my brother, he's dead, but I guess it's another version of him. And so I was like, oh, multiverse shit. No, he just turned out to be some other side guy. And then when they introduced Captain Marvel, I was like, ooh, that'd be cool to bring in Rogue for some reason, because like the trailer was all like, I can't remember who I am and all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe she had some run-in with Rogue, because Rogue, that's how she gets a lot of her powers. It's because she held on to Miss Marvel too long, and blah blah blah. Nope, they didn't do that. And now they're doing the whole thing. I'm just like, there's so many ways they could have done it that would have been cool and close to the comics and or be interesting. But now it's just like every time I'm like, what are you doing?
It's I mean, it's gonna be messy. Like the MCU and the X-Men just do like already before we factor in how many like what the fuckery that's come about because of the where the intellectual property was owned and all that.
Yeah.
It was already going to be weirdly messing, and that's why I feel I'm really concerned that what we're going to get is nothing but empty fan service and spectacle
Yeah.
instead of the good storytelling that is so often at the heart of the X-Men. Because I mean, like that what's always so cool about the X-Men stuff isn't how hard they can hit the other guys with their powers. It's the things they choose to do or not do with them.
Yeah.
It's the trauma they went through hitting puberty in high
Exactly.
school.
Yeah, and like the way they already are hinting at how they're trying to bring them in is already weird because if you've seen the Miss Marvel TV show, like the last
haven't.
okay, well at the ending, like after she, her power's already completely different from the comics. But her friend did like some testing on her DNA, and he said that yeah, there's something really weird like despite the whole like origin story that she just went through with her series, which also is really cool show. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It is geared towards a younger audience, but don't shit on it. It's pretty cool.
Go hang out with Kamala.
Yes, exactly. Kamala Khan, fantastic. But her friend does like some testing on her DNA, and he's like, yeah, there's some sort of mutation, and then they have the undertone kind of thing in the music underneath them talking. And I'm like,
love that.
ooh, that's cool, but also not cool because she's not a mutant, she's an Inhuman. What are you doing? Like that's
listen, they already fucked up the Inhumans. It's too late for that.
I know.
The
They fucked
Inhumans,
everything up already.
the Inhumans are gone, over, and literally dusted.
Yeah. It's like okay.
No more Inhumans. Black Bolt gets to sit up on his mountain, and that's it.
Like I never watched the Inhuman show, if that's what you're referring to. But
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. became the Inhumans, and then the Inhumans went bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched it yet. I don't care. Just go watch it. This won't make sense if you don't already know anyways. The girl who's the main character of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the beginning, that's Quake.
Yeah.
She's
Quake. Her name was... Yeah, she's Quake. Yeah.
So then once we find that out later, then it starts becoming more and more about Inhumans, and then the Inhumans comes from where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes, which starts out real nice. I liked it. for a while. Agents of Shield, that was cool.
Yeah, and just still started off pretty cool. I liked Agents of Shield, but then they just
X-Men could have done great in that show.
yeah, I could have probably, but they just don't. I just they just want money. That's what they want. They just want
Big money.
money.
Pay more dollar.
Yeah, and they get good writers and people who care about your projects on these projects because you can tell when there's people who are not here for it that actually care. Please, but yeah, so Kamala Khan and it's somehow going to be a gateway introduction to potentially to the X-Men, which is very weird, but she's cool
On that
though.
note, that rather depressing note of how unlikely it is we're going to get good X-Men stories in screen media in the future, other than 97.
97's great. Go watch it if
97
you have it.
I promise
Support
I'll watch it.
97. Make sure that this is the path they stay on.
Mhm.
Yeah. We actually have hit our time. It doesn't feel like it because I feel like we barely scratched the surface of all the things we could talk about. But
Oh man, I know how much more I could say, and Marv knows way more than me, so this could go.
I could go. Like how they do do
Uh,
so many characters dirty. They do Scott dirty. I know Scott's a Boy Scout, but they do him so dirty and everything. They do Storm
they-
dirty. They do
they-
Jubilee dirty.
I think
Jean,
Scott,
they do dirty.
come to think of it, I think Scott might actually be the one done the most dirty because they fuck up both of the biggest elements of his character. They
Yeah.
don't do his Boy Scout bit or his turn towards the bad path
Yeah,
right
and
either.
him actually learning his truth behind his origins and stuff. What actually happened with his parents? They do none of that in the movies and stuff. But TV show they touched on it though, at least. But yeah, no, they do him so
Also,
dirty and stuff.
it's also weirdly implied that Havoc is his father, not his brother.
What? No, it's his brother. Him,
Ew.
those two,
Ew.
and then his unborn brother from the womb that I learned about yesterday.
Scott's got he's got his secret sister. We don't get to learn about it until later. We've got his secret brother. We don't get to. Oh, it's okay. He's dead now. But then his other secret brother.
Other secret brother who is somehow taken from his mother's womb when she died, and they put in a accelerator thingy to turn him into a slave. and then-
Omega level mutant, try Omega level baby who didn't get to develop properly and is now an Omega level mutant.
Yes. Who didn't go through any social developments or anything.
The
Yes.
one thing we forgot to mention too, also, maybe I'm remembering wrong. I gotta double check. I think Reed Richards and Susan Storm's kid is a mutant.
Yes,
I think
Franklin.
Ooh.
Franklin's a mutant,
He's
if I remember right.
He's the mutant.
He's
The mutant.
if the other people are Omega level mutants, he's an Omega level mutant. Like they're
Oh,
called Omega
no.
level mutants because they're hugely powerful. If he's an Omega level mutant, his Omega means as in Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
Oh my god, he's God.
Pretty
He's-
much. He's a reality warper.
He's it's like Scarlet Witch's powers knocked up even further, harder to control, and given to a very, very immature kid.
Of course it is. It's always given to an immature kid.
I mean,
Yes.
I know.
what else can we expect a god to be but an immature kid?
Oh, that's yeah. Nothing to add.
Okay.
No notes.
Okay. We gotta stop, or we're just gonna keep going and going and going. We'll have to do it. We'll
Yeah.
have to revisit the X-Men in another day.
Let's do it.
Because clearly, there's just so much more to talk about. For now, though, audience, as is the norm, you can find, if you're listening to these episodes elsewhere, you can find them also on my site, radfordwrites.com. I also put blog articles and things like that up there. I put stories up on there. I have more new projects on the way. You can find links to my books there. Please buy those. I like it when people do that. If you're listening to it here, I'm also working on getting the episodes up on YouTube right now, and they're on Spotify as well. And of course, I fully intend to make sure you see plenty more of these too as well. And both of you have things you can plug, so you should
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I'm Marv_Missy on all socials, basically. I stream. I post VODs on YouTube. And I might be doing some other stuff. Come check it out.
I am very far behind on that front and trying to catch up, but I'm doing the streamy things on Sephir at Twitch, and also hopefully having more context. I don't have fans yet to say this to, but please, there will be more. I promise. I'm going on vacation soon. Work can stop devouring my life for a little bit.
Enjoy your vacation.
Oh God, I will. It's gonna be my
Right, well,
birthday.
Yay.
all right. Well, on that note, then, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.